the first thing I did, the pretzel logic. Rikki, Don't Lose That Number. They were already famous. They'd done Reelin' in the Years, the Do It Again, big hits, and we were all fans of them. And so it was kind of a pleasure to walk in knowing that the songs are going to be great.
Session guitar ace Dean Parks talks and plays Steely Dan, Eric Clapton, and a unique original in Soul Country number 11. I'm Rick Stewart, a filmmaking DJ since the mid-'80s, adding some real-life podcasts to get deeper into soul country. Good God! Where we corral Americana with a groove, curated for classic rock and soul fans. Listen in as we revitalize our cultural roots in westerns, blues, and variety. Now a word from our sponsor. Contact Ace Production for digital marketing, content strategy, and production for your social media to drive views, sales, and engagement. If you need original and effective content, contact Ace. Well, Dean grabbed the nearest guitar and peeled off some FM standard licks. And here's how it all went down.
In 1970, when I moved to LA, it was a booming situation. Most TV shows were recording directly to 2 tracks or 4. You needed a group of musicians in the room. They needed to be able to read in order to get the thing done quickly and on time. They needed to be dependable, show up on time. It was a real work ethic, work town, and there's a lot of creativity that went on because most of the arrangers didn't know exactly what rock and roll was all about because they came from jazz and classical. And so they would put a lot of, just maybe a couple of verbal instructions on the thing about what feel they were going for, and it was up to the player to make it real. But there was, Motown moved to LA, so you got that bumped up the enjoyment factor for me tremendously. But Glen Campbell had also brought country to LA. He had been a session player, and then he became a big artist and had hits of soft country hits. And so the variety, which I like. Variety was great.
What were some of the earlier gigs that you recall from that first year?
Oh, well, the Sonny and Cher comedy hour, which was, we did a pre-record for 3 hours with full big band. And that was, and the show was basically wall-to-wall music with little comedy skits in between. So it was all styles and fast-moving, and they do real vocals to our tracks. And we might get 2 or 3 takes on a piece that's real music focused piece, and so we could get a good take on it. So it was as good as a record, but moving quick at the same time. So there was that kind of thing, kind of big production things. Rita Coolidge was recording records, so it was just a rhythm section and her singing and doing whatever songs she and her producer David Anderley would find. Johnny Rivers, I met him. That's the thing about LA, is that all those players are coming from all over the country, so it sort of curates, the cream of the crop. Whoever think that they want to really be serious with their career, they come out, and so very few natives in the band.
Coming out of Fort Worth, were you close to T-Bone Burnett?
Yeah, we went to high school together. He used to sing in a couple of songs with our band if we were playing a local dance or something like that. And he produced a couple of things on a group I was in there.
He was already a recording studio guy, even early on.
Yeah, he was into it. There was a studio below the Hi-Fi store, Clifford Herring Sound. There was a studio called Sound City, and had a a 4-track recorder and a 3-track recorder. And so we would record on 4 tracks, mix those down to 1 or 2 tracks of the 3-track, and then move it back over to the 4-track machine and keep doing, I guess it's basically the same thing that all the 60s groups were doing. That's the way you made records then. You make your decisions as you go, and there's no changing those. Rocket Pneumonia. I came from North Texas, and I played woodwinds, and I was good at reading music and playing rock, which is a great, kind of a rarity, because usually it's one or the other. And so anyway, we, from the first minute, reading a chord chart with no notes about what we should be playing, coming up with a part. I would come up with a part, he would come up with a complementary part, or vice versa. Whoever got the good idea first would lean on his thing. We're both able to play what we hear right away. And we stayed out of each other's way and made it like we had been rehearsing it for weeks. In fact, we were just reading through it. And that's important. Being able to listen while you play. And for playing what you hear, that's half of it. The other half is learn to hear good things. And, sing a solo, then play that solo. Josie. Steely Dan had me do a solo on a song called Haitian Divorce, and it was used a talkbox. Yeah. It was a reggae thing. I wandered into the studio to say hello to those guys. They were recording in a different studio. Larry Carlton was in the band there, Bernard Purdy, Chuck, and Omardian. And then Larry said, "You want to play on the next one?" And then, so I played that rhythm part on his guitar. And then they gave me the option. Walter said, I can do it after you. You can just play, and I'll do the talkbox part, or you can do both at the same time. I said, no, you do the talkbox.
And they didn't really believe in genres, right? It was just kind of playing across.
Yeah, that's right. Like do your dirty work. It sounds like a country tune, sort of.
I did hear or read one of these interviews. Maybe it was Walter talking about their time at Bard College, and Fagen had like 5 bands, every different kind of band, different nights of the week. And I think Walter joined 4 of them. There was a country band there.
I didn't know that.
Pearl a Quarter and With the Gun, 2 pretty westernized country and westerns.
I know. There was sort of a country quality to what they were doing. Skunk Baxter was a great pedal steel player as well, and he played on a couple of Rikki, don't lose that number. Organizing the band was Michael Mardian, who was a session keyboard player, and he did the rhythm charts on that early stuff and called the band. Me and Jim Gordon. Chuck Rainey, I believe, was probably Walter's call, because Walter's the bass player, and Chuck Rainey is a great bass player, and he loved what he did, and I think that he wanted to have Chuck there doing the bass part.
So let's talk about joining a band. So you played some stage work with Crosby and Nash at some one point. And
yeah.
Did you have to, become the type of musical persona of Stills to fill that in?
Well, yeah. So there's Stills and Neil Young, right? So I kind of learned a trick from listening to John Harrington play with Steely Dan when they started going live after all those years. John would play the essence of the solo to begin, and then he would go off on his own thing. I thought that was a real good way to go. So I sort of did that with Crosby and Nash. And there was acoustic work to do on that stuff and lead stuff and just rock rhythm. But
what do you think about that, like Sweet Judy Blue Eyes kind of guitar style?
That was fantastic. Yeah, Graham told me a story about that. That's the first thing they did on that album at Wally Heider's studio. I went in to listen to the playback, and the engineer said, "Oh my, I'm so sorry. We had a vocal session in here, and I had a lot of compression on, and there was a lot of compression on your guitar. We're just going to have to redo that." And Steven said, "No, we're not. We're going to keep that for the whole album." So it's highly compressed guitars make it as vital as an electric, because that's what you get from electric overdrive, and sort of is the attraction for a guitar player to overdrive, is that it takes the loud things and tucks them in, and takes the low things and brings them up. So you're playing in a real lively range. You could do pull-offs and hammer-ons or hit it hard, and they're all in the ballpark. Where if you're taking a guitar direct, it's very peaky and not naturally good sounding. So you put a lot of compression on an acoustic guitar, and you can get all of a sudden start playing it like an electric. So keeping that in mind, you hear some of those acoustic parts that he plays, and I'm assuming, I haven't talked with him about that, but I'm assuming that was inspirational to have that compression going, because you have, you can hit a note like that and it comes off like an electric, because it's like it's a vital electrified sound. He told me Crosby told me that he tuned to all E's. So that's the basis to that thing.
This seems like an old blues guy kind of thing too.
Yeah, exactly.
He had a real feel for that.
Fantastic.
You're the lead guitarist joining a new band. Is that like a tricky kind of mental situation to get into?
You mean playing with them?
Yeah, just anybody when you have to like pick up a catalog of songs and be like a front kind of player.
It's fun. Walter Becker taught me a little thing when they first started playing live again. He would turn his guitar amp down, which make the front of house guy turned his guitar up in the mix, and then he could hear his guitar over throughout the whole venue. So that became something that I use and I became very comfortable in playing for a lot of people because it sounded so nice. And the audience, let's face it, they want you to be good. They're not your enemies. They're your friends. They're rooting for you.
Being a part of the Sonny and Cher enterprise, was it easy to fit into that?
Well, yeah, it was pretty loose, really. I mean, I had done a fill-in job for them when they came through Fort Worth or Dallas, and so they called me when they started doing this new road show with, she started. It was basically for the Fairmont Hotel tours. And Vegas, Sonny wanted them to end up in Vegas, so it was a completely different kind of act than they had done before. And so they needed to put a band together. They called me, and if I wanted to go on the road with them. And I was at the point then where I was ready to move to LA, and I knew it, and I had my money saved up to do that. And I thought this would be a good springboard. I said, well, yeah, my band that I was in, that T-Bone was producing some records with wanted to come also. So I talked them into giving my band a try, which worked out great. We went to Chicago and read the gig on the gig. Maybe we rehearsed in the afternoon or something. But we were all reading musicians from North Texas and university, and so we nailed it pretty much and stuck.
The school later graduated Nora Jones, right? Is that the same?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, I think she's from that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of.
All right, so another Texas guy, Lyle Lovett. You were associated with him continuously. It seems like. Tell me a little about that collaboration.
Yeah. Well, so I met Lyle when there was an album that was a Grateful Dead tribute. Every artist, multiple artists, each guy did one song, and Lyle did a Grateful Dead tune, and the producer was George Massenburg, and he knew us, meaning Russ Kunkel, Lee Sklar, me, and then Lyle brought his piano player, Matt Rawlings, and we did that record, and from then on, Lyle used that rhythm section as his core recording rhythm section. Would come out to LA and then it was half Nashville and half LA, and so through that I got to meet Paul Franklin on pedal steel, and Sam Bush and Stuart Duncan, and Jerry Douglas, and I was total thrill, because those guys are such ace players. And
how would you describe like Lyle's take on country music, or where's he coming at it from?
Well, he's a songwriter, and he's a big fan of songwriters, and I think what he did coming up was basically coffee house gigs, playing solo acoustic and singing. And I don't know, I look at his the kind of songs he does. Some of them are sort of that swing, that country swing thing. She's no lady, she's my wife. Then there's that spacious thing. You imagine a home in the middle of dirtland farm area, lots of space, lots of time to think, but simple thoughts, but soulful thoughts. So that whole Southwest atmospheric thing.
All right, so what about you had the LA Reggae album with Johnny Rivers? I have that record.
Yeah, that was fun.
What's he like to work with? He's a Louisiana guy.
Oh, he's great. So, usually on a tracking session, you go in and you do, okay, it's tracking. We got the rhythm section here, and we're paying all these guys and an engineer, and we got a studio. So we're going to do as many tracks as we can. And then we'll do the vocals and the solo overdubs, and we'll do that later in the week, or maybe next week. Which is okay, but Johnny didn't do it that way. We started a song on a day, and we did all the overdubs. He did his final vocals. Sometimes the tracking vocal was the final vocal, and then he would double the choruses or whatever he wanted to do. We'd do any overdubs we wanted to do, and they'd mix it that night, and it was, there you go, that's it.
He was from an older era almost. He started real young.
Yeah, he did. He was already, I knew him from his records for sure when I first came out. So this was,
I saw him play Jazz Fest about 3 or 4 years ago, wearing an LSU ball cap, and he's looking a lot younger than he really is.
Yeah, he's still doing great. I've worked with him recently, and he still sounds great, and he's still Johnny Rivers all the way.
All right, another album I saw you on was the Let's Get It On album, Marvin Gaye. You must remember that one.
I do, yeah. I remember having lunch with Marvin in a little courtyard in the Motown. It was at the Motown studio, and in L.A., Mo West, it was called. I had a peanut butter sandwich from home, and he said, "Oh yeah, I used to." That's the kind of thing when you're a kid. You say, when I grow up, I'm going to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich anytime I want to. So he's very friendly. So on the Let's Get It On song, though, that day I couldn't make the session. I had another pre-existing session, and Don Peake was on it. He got to play that nice intro thing. It's his intro. They said, play something at the beginning, play some bluesy thing. And so that whole thing wouldn't have been there if I'd have been there. It would have been some different thing.
When you have to come up with something that's like the intro line of a song, do you just listen to the rest of the song and it just comes out?
Yeah. Usually you get an idea. I can write down what I think of, because from my reading days, I learned to read music by writing music. Some friends in the band that I joined, the big band in high school, they, for some reason, reading musicians, like in bands and orchestras, they don't play by ear. it never occurred to them. They've always played by notes. And so I came in, I could play by ear. So they asked me to do a takedown of take 5 for me, or whatever their song that they wanted. And so I kind of poked my way through it, and it was a great way to learn to read, because you're learning what the music is, and you're trying to represent it in notation. And then when you're seeing notation, you're kind of one layer deeper into making it a natural process to read it.
So Rhinestone Cowboy, the first time around with Glen Campbell, were you involved in that one?
Yeah. Dennis Lambert and Brian Potter were producers I worked for. And they produced the album, and I was part of their core musicians. Michael Mardian was usually their piano player, which was this guy that got me into Steely Dan sessions. So yeah, that's just a normal session. Glenn was there and was chimed in on some of the overdubs and stuff like that.
Does he play a lot of guitar on his own records in that day?
He didn't play any while I was there. I did for that song, the bass guitar, the 6-string bass thing, dun, 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 dun.
With the sending
and
pattern.
high string acoustics and regular acoustics, and maybe there wasn't really a tracking electric on that. It was maybe all acoustics. I haven't heard it lately, but that's kind of my recollection.
Yeah, it was a very memorable single in the day. I was probably like 8 years old when that came out, but they played it a lot.
I know, and he played it for the rest of his career as well.
So yeah, another song he did was Wichita Lineman, and he's known for bringing in the guitar part.
That's before I came to LA, and I was a big fan of those Jimmy Webb records. I did some arrangements in Dallas for local artists where we would stack string section parts from a string quartet, and I was sort of emulating, Jimmy Webb made it possible for all that orchestration to be cool, but with very open voicings, not syrupy, but cool. And
yeah, he gave like a one-person demo show, but I think when he finally did Wichita Lineman, he brought out a guitar guy just to nail that Glen Campbell part.
Yeah.
But his little Morse code thing on the piano is just, everything kills when he does it. It's like he's minimal. It's like, all right, let's talk about playing shows for a second. What takes a good show and makes it great?
It takes the professional musicians is what it takes. A musician that can bring his best in the time of pressure. It's sort of like athletics in that way, the guys that can excel under pressure and don't fold under pressure. That's
so in the group setting, that's everybody.
And that kind of has to be everybody. It's sometimes it's rehearsal. Different groups handle it different ways. I never memorized my solos, but there are players that do, great players. They kind of construct a solo, or it appeared on the record in a certain way, becomes a part of the song in a way, and they have to play it like the record. But when I was with Crosby and Nash, sort of the further out I would take it, the bigger the grin on their faces.
Improvisation.
Well, because they're in rock and roll. That's what that was. Come and bring it. If you ever hear
it was jazz related. I mean, like there was a desire to have solos.
Yeah, that's right. And there was a jazz sensibility. Crosby was a fan of Coltrane and all the, you can kind of tell that 8 Miles High, because McGuinn takes that solo, which is basically like a Coltrane emulation for guitar. And so they were open to that, and they kind of brought a fresh, spacious adventure to harmony in rock, I thought, that wasn't there before they came along.
Okay, let's change up the topics here a little bit. Favorite Western movies of all time?
Western movies. I liked Unforgiven, because it was such a different take on the whole cowboy hero. Anti-hero, yeah. Gunsmoke, I used to watch. I would also see reruns of Gene Autry and Roy Rogers, Dale Evans.
Eastwood was kind of somewhere near on the money when he was like, there was only two original American art forms, jazz and the Western. And I probably just would say blues and the Western, but you know, I get the same point, you know.
Yeah, the same point. And they're kind of American inventions. Yeah, my mom used to take me to see country and Western shows coming through Fort Worth, because the circuit was Fort Worth on Friday night, the Cowtown Jamboree, and Dallas, the Big D Jamboree on Saturday night. So all the big country stars, little Jimmy Dickens and, Webb Pierce and, whoever was making records would be on that tour, several artists. And that's what got me wanting to do music when I was 5. So yeah, country was part of Chuck Berry's thing. He was kind of a country singer.
Yeah, well, he was coming after Louis Jordan. Ain't nobody here but us chickens, and and there was Jimmy Reed was doing the same thing. It's kind of laying a country style vocal on top of a R&B thing.
Yeah, his beats, doing chick-a-doom, 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 chick-a-doom,
that was a Western thing.
Straight, straight country beats.
All right, fun anecdotes about tours or parties that'll never happen again?
No.
That memory's been wiped away.
Well, I don't know. People asked me why I didn't get hooked on drugs like a lot of musicians did. And I said, well, I just didn't have the self-confidence. I figured I need my wits about me to keep up with these guys. Musicianship was so terrific.
Yeah, there's a lot of self-destruction kind of things going on. Projects you're working on now and looking forward to working on. Anything coming up?
Oh, I don't know. I do this thing. J.J. Lara arranges music for the Grammy premiere program, which is a 3.5-hour show that's only streamed. It's not broadcast, but it's really where most of the Grammys are given out, for jazz, country, Americana, world music, and classical music. Those are all, they give like 60 or 70 awards. And the house band is, four horns, 4 strings, and 2 guitars, rhythm section. We play about 70 play-ons and play-offs that are every kind of hit record music that there was, from metal to country to classical to, it's just fun to go through, hit each one of those, dial up your sound. That's well rehearsed, but you're never really ready, even though it's not that well rehearsed with so much going on. And there's usually then about, I think we have, is it 2 or 4 production numbers that are full. One year it was Angelique Kidjo, so it's an African thing, and then it could be a jazzy thing, or again, variety. Change the world, Eric Clapton.
So how does it work out when you got a guitar player who's like really well known like that, and you also got to be like the guitar player that they hire? Like, what are they thinking, and what are you thinking?
I don't know, because Babyface was the producer, and he's a guitar player too, and he could play that part really well. Clapton wasn't there. It was a Nashville writing team, and I'm sorry, I don't know the names, but the demo was basically that too. So, Babyface was just building a track from, he had a rhythm machine.
And we underestimate Clapton's power as a vocalist too.
Yeah, I think he was fantastic vocalist, a great style. Even in the Cream, I love him.
He was too young to do all the lead vocals in the beginning, I guess. Well, they had to get like
Jack Bruce.
Yeah, they had an extrovert in there. What about when Cream reunited? Did you see that footage? Like 05 maybe?
I'm sure I did. I thought about going over to see that.
Did you ever play in the power trio rock format?
Well, in school, I kind of had a Cream jam group, and there was 3 guys, and it was really fun to do. That's a great format because you can take it anywhere you want to. There's only 2 guys in charge of the harmony. Pretty easy I think I heard Cream first. Then that was sort of the first time that I look at those guys as real musicians, like on the same level as a jazz musician, like totally accomplished and easy for them. It sounds easy for them. I love the Jeff Beck albums. Rod Stewart was a singer. Yeah, that was great.
Powerhouse.
I got to hear them at the Hollywood Bowl. They did a concert with Rod Stewart, and Jeff Beck came and did 6 songs with them live. That was very enjoyable to see that.
Yeah, what about Beck as he evolved there in the 70s? He like the Blow by Blow album and.
Well, so my favorite Jeff Beck was that first stuff, and I guess that was all Gibson, Les Paul oriented. But I'm not sure because he played a Telly back then, some too. But when he started playing the Strat with his fingers, I think that was like You Had It Coming, which was kind of a Pro Tools environment. His producer, I love what he did with that. He kind of made the most of Jeff's virtuoso thing and took the best of it and pieced it together to make pretty exciting pieces to me. So I became a Jeff Beck fan on that record. For the current thing.
He was always using the tremolo a lot, right? That was kind of a fascinating concept there, where he could control his squawk level.
Yeah, no, he had complete control. He knew exactly what he was doing and where he was musically. For a guy that makes music out of simple parts, he puts some. It was very elegant what he did with the electric guitar. I saw him live several times.
There's this footage of him and Jimmy Page and Clapton. They're all meeting the Queen 15 years ago, and I think it's like Jimmy Page says, "We were all in the same band," and then she's like, "So you've done all right for yourselves then?" And Jeff Beck's like, "They did a little better than I did."
Yeah, I know, Jeff.
He wasn't that tied to the money side of the business, but didn't really want to do whatever somebody else wanted him to do.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that.
It's kind of the rock and roll spirit in a way, just playing my music the way I play it and take it or leave it.
Okay, any collaborations on your wish list upcoming?
There's a group I play with in a trio format, James Krauss and Andrew Higgins. We live in, Andrew lives in another town. He lives in San Francisco. We live in LA. But we've gotten together a few times, and there's a great chemistry for the trio format because Andrew's very musical and can follow and have ideas that spark other ideas. James Krauss, in a similar way, is just a very elegant drummer. And we've done some playing live and a little bit of recording at Dave Way's studio. And I'm really haven't put anything together, but would like to do something with those guys soon, within the next year.
All right, Dean Parks, thanks for coming by Soul Country. Soul Country number 11 is in the books with special appreciation to Greg Lucas and to Reed Mathis for our theme song, We Ride. 11 was brought to you by Ace Production in conjunction with the Blues Center and with support from the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation. Tune in again for more roots, music, culture, and lore as Season 3 ropes in expensive wino Ivan Neville, the cosmic Appalachian sounds of Olivia Wolfe, and Country Hall of Famer Charlie McCoy. And find trailers, highlights, and playlists, as well as a full archive of episodes at soulcountry.com.